Today I thought this would be a really good opportunity to take a look at the progress since we swapped from this half plot over this side to this full plot over this side. I've had this one since mid-December. Quite a lot of work to do. I'm going to take you a little tour around and show the progress we've made. So these are one of the first things that I put in to this new plot. These are my first early potatoes. You see how some of the leaves are starting to turn yellow. That's a good sign that some are ready to start being dug up. Apparently only dig up what you need while the weather's quite nice. Leave the rest in, but obviously you need to start digging them up before the cold weather comes later in a couple of months. So I'll get some of these dug up in a moment. These are some of the onions and the garlic that I planted early on as well. You can see how some of them are just starting to go to seed on the tops. What I need to be doing is getting some of these up and making sure there's no pests on them and they're okay. Not quite sure yet, but we'll have a look. Just in here, if you can see, I've got some marvellous lettuce. These have done really, really well. There's a rogue potato, I think it might be, coming up, which I need to weed out. But some of these are ready for harvest. Here are the 3 types of lettuces that I just chucked the seed onto this raised bed here. This is Cos, Little Gem and Salad Bowl, I think it's called. I haven't thinned these out because what I want to do is pull these up and use them at home with the roots. Just pop them in a jam jar to keep the roots wet. But these have done really, really well. Really pleased with these. Okay, you may or may not recall I got some manure in the springtime. Half the plot is currently covered with the manure, and here are my potatoes, which I'm going to be eating by the looks of things till next year. I've got my second earlies and I've got my main crop in here, and as you can see these are starting to flower and they're about waist height, so they're a good height. Really good. Can't wait till these start turning a bit more for me to start digging them up. And in here is one of my beauties. This is a pumpkin plant. You just start seeing something's growing here. Always a good sign. So in here I have my sweet corn. Some grown from seed, some purchased from the garden centre. My rocket didn't do very well, it got eaten. But my spring onions, there's some that are doing fairly well here. I just need to sow some more while it's still warm and give this a good watering this afternoon. So in this little area here I've got mange tout in the middle, and I've got a couple of different variety of peas either side. Some weeds at the back that need sorting. In here I've got the usual courgettes which I grew last year. You can see in here we've got the green variety at the back, which is Black Beauty, and then these beautiful courgettes here. I think there's 2 or maybe 3 coming up that are ready for picking. Just don't leave them to get too big, and then otherwise they just start to take on a marrow variety and they might get a little bit bitter. Depends on your taste. Some more sweet corn. It's just a wild geranium. Got a couple of cucumbers here that I've trellised up. I want them to start growing up the top. Did that last year. Vertical trellising, that seems to be quite a good idea to do. Another pumpkin in here. Not sure there's any fruit forming yet, but let's give it a chance. And then I've got a whole bed of beetroot with some bit of sweet corn at the back. Some dahlias in the raised little boxes. Some of this beetroot will be ready for digging up as well. So over here I have some other main crop potatoes that I was given from across the way. They've come up really quickly. And then I've got butternut squash, some more pumpkins, and I think there's one courgette over there called Black Beauty variety as well. So in here I have some carrots that are growing really, really well. This is a sand and compost mix. These carrots were purchased as tiny little plants from B&Q, and these are Chantenay variety. I know that because I remembered putting the label on it. And I've also got a couple of bits of beetroot that were left over that I've just trialing in here. Some more carrots over here, rainbow mix. And then I've got some little parsnips that I've grown from seed, perhaps a little bit late. I'm going to give these a good watering. That's the variety Tender and True, and judging by the label these were planted on the 11th of June. So I'm going to give these a little good water, see how small they are. Hopefully they'll start to grow. I'm not sure if you can see clearly or not. We've done some work on replacing the panes of glass in this greenhouse here. There's a couple more maybe at the bottom to go, and then I put some tomatoes in the greenhouse, which I've just got some fruit on, which are green at the moment, so they need a good feed. This, however, is the other greenhouse that needs more work done to it. The panes are slightly larger, so they're not as easy to get hold of. So we've just got some polycarbonate delivered last week, and we've just started replacing inside. So that is an ongoing project. What else have we done? We have fixed the drain pipe from the top of the shed into this. This is called an IBC, and this holds up to 1,000 litres of water for you, which is really handy for a site like this, as it has no running water, no toilets and no electricity. So I have 2 of these, and what I can do when this one hopefully gets full, I can alter the drain pipe and get it fed into the other one as well. So this is a picture of me. A couple of bits of feedback was to show my face a bit more, not that you want to see it, but this is the plot from outside the shed. You can see there's a lot of work to be done. That middle section just past the refuse sacks needs a good load of weeding to be done and clearing. Ongoing job. One thing I would say, if you do come up the allotment and you've got half hour to spare, get your hoe out and get weeding. That's one of the biggest things to try and control, especially when the weather's like this. If your plants are growing, so are the weeds. Just in this little section here, next to the potatoes that I put in not very long ago, is a couple of sunflowers. You can see some raspberry plants. I don't think they're going to give any fruit this year. I'm not quite sure, because they were already here. I just tidied them up and de-weeded them. And then I've put some peas in. Not too late in July if you want to get some peas in here, like I've done. These were put in last week. I've just protected them with netting because of the birds. So my first early variety is Caledonian Pearl. These were from the local really small garden centre, as you can see, £2.49. So we're going to dig some of them up and see how successful these are. Okay, so what I've done is selected and just pulled some of these bits up. Got to be really careful with your fork because you don't want to damage the potatoes. There we go. So what I'm going to do is get in here with the old fork and trowel. Let's see what we've got. I'm going to pull these little tiny ones out because you don't want them seeding themselves. All you've got to do is just carefully go through. It's nice and dry, so it's quite easy today to get these out, she says. Get these little tiny ones out of the way. And just carry on digging to see what else you've got. There's another plant. Okay. Carry on digging with these. See what else we can find. Oh, there's another one. And there we have it, my first crop of 2023's potatoes. This is off about 3 plants so far. I've just found this whopper of a courgette, which I'm just going to slowly take off, which looks more than ready. Just twist it off. Look at that, brilliant. And then I've got another courgette in here somewhere. I've just taken one off. Here's another one. There you go. This is the butter stick variety. And these, were from B&Q as plants. You don't always have to use seeds if you don't want to. And look at that. It's quite a large courgette. You can pick them off smaller if you wish. That's great. Okay, so just in here is beetroot. This is Boltardi variety. I know that because I remembered putting the sign on it. These seeds, I believe, were from the co-op. I'm just going to pull them up. Don't want to leave them in to get too big, as it can become a bit woody. There we go. Excellent. So here's the view looking down to the shed. You can see the raised area where the carrots are. Some late potatoes, my pumpkins, and the butternut squash. And then you can see, here's the beetroot. Some of it I've just harvested here. I've got my broccoli and cabbage in this little brassica cage here. Stops the pests getting in and the fly. whitefly. Here's the potatoes that I've just dug up, along with 3 courgettes. And then I've got the lettuce I showed you, cabbage and cauliflower, sweet corn, peas out of shot, and then I've got some more kale, I think, growing in this one, I believe it is. And I think these are Brussels sprouts. Everybody likes Brussels sprouts. In here you can see, I can see my cauliflowers, which I grew from seed, and my cabbages. This one is about ready, and I think this was the Greyhound variety. There you go, Ali. I am all on my own, hence the car being there, because the gate is locked. That's where my lettuces are, my onions and my garlic, my shed, 2 greenhouses, loads of beetroot, sweet corn, courgettes, peas, spring onions, sweet corn, sunflowers, lettuce, rhubarb, pumpkin, sweet peas, and shitloads of potatoes growing. And sprouts, Brussels sprouts. Have a good weekend.